The entire bar froze. It was as if someone had slammed a fist on the pause button of life itself. Glasses clinked to the floor. Conversations died in mid-sentence, and every pair of eyes turned toward the rugged biker who stood at the center of it all. His leather jacket carried the dust of the road. His jaw was set like stone, and his hands trembled with a strange mixture of fury and resolve. He had just ripped open the shoulder of the waitress's shirt, and for a heartbeat no one breathed. People thought they were about to witness something cruel, something unforgivable. But what he revealed left every soul stunned into silence. Emily had always been the quiet one behind the counter, the kind of woman who smiled politely no matter how rude the customers got. She carried plates heavier than her frame should allow, wiped spills with a tired hand, and offered coffee refills as though she owed the world an apology. She never complained, never raised her voice, and never told anyone about the battles she fought outside those wooden doors. To the patrons who came in daily, she was nothing more than the gentle waitress with kind eyes and weary shoulders. That night, the air in the bar was thick with laughter, smoke, and the clinking of beer bottles. A group of men in the corner had been louder than the rest, mocking Emily every chance they got. They tugged at her apron, joked about her worn-out shoes, and whispered cruel words about the scars that peeked above her collarbone when her shirt slipped. The laughter of the crowd fed their cruelty, and Emily did what she always did, kept her head down, swallowed her pain, and carried on as if it didn't matter. But it did matter. Every word cut deeper than the last. Then the biker walked in. His presence shifted the air like a storm cloud rolling over clear skies. Conversations dropped to murmurs. Some patrons stiffened. Others exchanged wary glances. He was known by reputation, a man whispered about more than spoken to. Some called him dangerous. Others swore he had a past too dark to tell. But that night he didn't sit in the shadows. He found a table where he could see everything, especially Emily. He didn't speak, only watched, his sharp gaze following her every move as though he was reading a book only he understood. When the men in the corner crossed the line and mocked the scar on Emily's skin, the biker's chair scraped back with a sound that sliced through the noise. He walked toward them, slow, deliberate, every boot step heavy on the wooden floor. People expected a fight, a punch, a broken bottle raised in anger. Instead, he stopped beside Emily. His hand reached out, not to strike, but to pull at the fabric on her shoulder. With one swift motion, her shirt tore and the crowd gasped. For the first time, the mark she had hidden so carefully was laid bare. It wasn't just a scar. It was a tattoo etched beside the wound. A military emblem, faded yet unyielding, carrying with it a story no one in the bar had ever imagined. The room seemed to tilt in disbelief. Jaws dropped, whispers began to ripple. The biker's voice cut through the silence, deep and commanding. "Do you know what this means? Do you even understand who she is?" His words weren't cruel. They were protective, filled with a fire that demanded respect. Emily stood frozen, her breath quick, eyes wide with humiliation and fear. She hadn't wanted this. Hadn't wanted her past to be dragged into the light of this place. Yet here it was. Undeniable. The men who had mocked her shifted uncomfortably, their arrogance draining away as the biker continued. He explained what the emblem stood for. Emily had been a soldier. She had seen combat, saved lives, and carried wounds that told stories of sacrifice. The scar wasn't something to laugh at. It was a reminder of the battles she had survived, battles far beyond the comprehension of those who belittled her. The bar, once so full of noise, was now heavy with shame. Even the rowdy men bowed their heads, realizing the weight of their cruelty. Emily's eyes filled with tears, not because of their shame, but because of her own exposure. She had spent years hiding this part of herself, believing no one in this small town would understand. Now it was out, torn open in front of everyone. She felt stripped bare, not of clothing, but of the armor she had built to protect her heart. But then she felt the presence of the biker at her side. He wasn't mocking her. He wasn't pitying her. He was standing like a shield between her and the judgment of the room. His words carried an edge of command. "Respect her. She's stronger than any of you will ever be." No one argued. The same men who had sneered at her only moments before now stared at the floor, ashamed of their laughter. The other patrons exchanged guilty glances, realizing they had joined in the cruelty, even with their silence. Emily wanted to run, to disappear, but her legs carried her only as far as the back room. She buried her face in her hands, sobs breaking free from the depths she had locked them in. She hated that her secret was out, hated that the scars she had chosen to hide were now the center of attention. She didn't even hear him approach until his voice softened in the doorway. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't want to hurt you. I just couldn't stand watching them tear you down." His voice no longer carried the gravelly edge of a biker, but the weight of someone who knew pain all too well. Emily lifted her tear-streaked face, meeting his eyes for the first time without fear. He wasn't a stranger anymore, not entirely. Something in his expression told her he understood what it was like to carry scars no one else could see. She hesitated, then spoke words she hadn't shared with anyone in this town. She told him about her husband who never made it back from combat, about the son she raised alone, about leaving the service because she couldn't balance war and motherhood. She told him about the long nights, the exhaustion, the feeling of invisibility in a place where no one knew her past. Each word cracked open the shell she had built around herself. The biker didn't interrupt. He didn't pity her. He just listened, his eyes steady, his silence speaking more than words ever could. When she finally stopped, drained and trembling, he nodded slowly. "You're stronger than you think," he said, "but you don't have to carry it alone." The words landed in her heart like a promise, though she didn't know what kind. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as a waitress, not as a widow, not as a scarred woman, but as herself. Before she could respond, the back door creaked open. A small voice broke through the thick silence. "Mom!" Her son rushed in, throwing his arms around her waist. Emily's tears spilled anew, but this time they were different, softer, filled with love. She stroked his hair, whispering comfort. Then, to her shock, the boy looked past her and pointed at the biker. His eyes lit up with recognition. "Mom," he said with excitement and awe, "that's the man who saved me once." The room seemed to freeze again, just as it had before. Emily's breath caught in her throat, her eyes darting between her son and the biker, whose expression shifted with the weight of truth. The past she thought she had buried was colliding with the present in ways she couldn't yet understand. Questions swirled, emotions tangled, and all she knew for certain was that nothing would ever be the same again. Emily's heart thudded in her chest as her son's words echoed in the small room. She looked at him, then at the biker, trying to connect the dots. The boy's eyes were wide, filled with a mix of admiration and relief, as if he had just recognized a guardian angel in disguise. The biker shifted uneasily, the tough exterior faltering under the weight of the child's memory. He didn't deny it, didn't shrug it off as a mistake. Instead, he lowered his gaze and gave a small nod, confirming what her son had said. Emily's breath hitched. "What do you mean he saved you?" she whispered, voice trembling with both fear and disbelief. Her son launched into the story, his words tumbling out quickly. He told her about the day months ago when bullies had cornered him after school, pushing him around, calling him names. He had been too scared to fight back, too small to defend himself. Out of nowhere, a man on a bike had appeared, roaring down the street like a storm. The bullies scattered in terror, and the biker had crouched down to his level, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. He hadn't just chased the bullies away, he had spoken to the boy, told him to hold his head high, to never let anyone make him feel weak for being kind. Emily listened in stunned silence, her hands tightening around her son's shoulders. She turned back to the biker, her voice heavy with confusion. "Why didn't you tell me?" He met her eyes at last, and for the first time she saw past the leather and scars. His voice was low, almost apologetic. "Because I wasn't sure I deserved to. I didn't want thanks. I just wanted him safe." The words lingered in the air like smoke, filling every corner of the room. Emily studied him closely, searching for the truth in his eyes. Slowly, painfully, he began to unravel his own past. He admitted he had once been a soldier, just like her, but his story didn't end with medals or honor. A mission had gone wrong and lives had been lost. He carried the blame like a chain around his neck, and the guilt had driven him into the life he lived now. The biker bars, the endless roads, the reputation for trouble, it was all armor, a way to bury the man he used to be.